We have been on a long journey. We have talked about taking responsibility and then deciding where you want your life to go. And now we want to spend some time figuring out step by step how you can get there. And to do that, it takes something from you, and that is a commitment to take it step by step. But to do that well, I think you need a tool. I want to share with you a true story about Janelle and me. Shortly after Janelle and I were married, we went on a raft trip down a famous river in Texas called the Rio Grande River. I thought it would be simple and fun. All I knew is that someone told me it had a lot of fast water, and that's what I wanted. I should have realized something was wrong when a group well known for doing dangerous things put their raft in right next to ours. If you heard my wife tell this story, you would think it was a miracle we made it out alive. The truth is that I wasn't prepared, and because of that, my wife felt very, very afraid. By the way, she never again went with me on a raft trip. I learned a valuable lesson for my marriage and for my life. Know what you are going to do and carefully follow the plan. A little preparation can save you a lot of trouble and maybe your marriage. I want us to look at a tool, and it's going to be in two parts. This is the first part. I'm going to explain to you a little bit about why this fourth generation planner is so important. And then I'm going to walk you through an example of how I've used it. I want us to start with putting it all together. That's your fourth generation planner, and it's your first fourth generation planner. Our goals are, we need to know who we are. Number one, we need to state, you need to state your personal mission statement. So you know this is the person I want to be. You want to list the roles you have in your life. There is a sample list in the book. If there are any roles you have that are not listed, then you add them. If there are any roles listed that you don't have, then omit them, take them out. Then we want to select our goals. That's the next step. And it is to set goals for each role that you would like to accomplish over the next 7 days, 1 week. Don't include things you already do daily. Number one, you will have longer term goals, not to be finished this week, but you want to list them so you don't forget them. I'll show you how to do that. And short-term goals, these goals you plan to accomplish this week. You may have several goals for some of your roles and no goals for other roles. At least some of the goals should be quadrant 2 goals. Now, let me remind you, quadrant 2 goals are goals that are important but not urgent. Now we want to look at scheduling. Place the goals on your calendar where you plan to do them. Number one, some goals may take more than one space. For example, you might want to work out 3 times a week, so you have to put it on 3 separate days. Number two, you must be, some must be done on certain days. For example, perhaps you have a staff evaluation of someone working for you. You can only do that evaluation at a certain time and maybe on a certain day. Number three, some may be able to be done almost any time. However, I suggest you still put them on a specific time. If you don't schedule an activity, it is more likely to be forgotten or omitted. Even after scheduling your goals, you should have a good amount of time left over. This is necessary to let you be flexible. If you fill up every moment of every day when some quadrant 1 thing happens, you won't be able to be flexible. And those things that are important and urgent, they do come. Number 5, prioritizing your goals can also be helpful. When quadrant 1 activities I just mentioned before crowd in, as they sometimes will do, then you have already thought through which goal has the highest priority. Then we want to look at daily changes. Each day, take a minute to look at your schedule and evaluate any changes you might need to make. This really only takes 1 or 2 minutes. Number 1, no one can see the future. We need to remain flexible. Number 2, sometimes you will have an unexpected event. It may be a quadrant 1 event that is important and urgent, and you must adjust to it. You must take care of it. Number 3, you may realize you cannot accomplish all your goals on this day. You may need to choose which goals hold the highest priority. Now, I want us in a minute to go and actually do this on a separate video. But I want to look at some of the benefits or advantages of this 4th generation planner. Number 1, different than other planners, this is a principle-centered planner. It is designed to help you put your principles and values into your daily life. And I should add there your personal mission statement, keeping it before you, integrating it into your life. Number 2, conscience directed. It reaches inside of you and allows you to make decisions from your heart as to how you will live your life. Number 3, it defines your personal mission statement, values, and goals. It pushes you back to your deepest feelings of what you want out of life. What is your unique mission? What values are most important to you? What goals will most effectively get you there? And I didn't state it here, but one of the things that I hope is clear to you is that if you have been doing this prayerfully with God all the way through this, then you have discovered God's mission for your life. And that makes it even more critical. Number 4, balance. It helps you find balance by keeping all your roles in view. You don't focus on one goal, work, and neglect your family. You don't focus on family and neglect your work. Context. The weekly planner helps you see a little bigger picture of where you are and where you are going. You're going to look at 7 days. It's a little clearer which way you're headed in 7 days than in 1 day. Now, we're going to practice this in a minute, but what I'd like to do is close with, I think, a very telling story. If you had been on the British coast in 1845, you might have seen 2 ships with 138 British sailors setting sail for the Arctic. Their goal, to find the best way to the Pacific Ocean. The captain you see pictured here is Sir John Franklin, and he hoped this effort would be the turning point in Arctic exploration. History shows that it was, but not because of its success. but because of its failure. The ships didn't return, and the men died, frozen to death. And those who would try later learned this lesson from their failure: plan well for the journey. Apparently, Captain Franklin didn't plan well. They expected the journey to last 2 or 3 years, yet he only carried a 12-day supply of coal for the steam engines. But he did prepare for fun. Each ship carried 1,100 volumes of books, a library, music, expensive plates, silverware, and glasses. The worst part was the sailors carried no special clothing for the cold weather. They were completely unprepared. Their bodies were found frozen to death. And you can see a group of those sailors here in this picture. Apparently, the ship was frozen in the Arctic waters and could not move for the whole winter. The ship was trapped in the ice, and so were the sailors. Some sailors set out to search for help. Without warm clothes, they had no chance. Indians from the area told of seeing a group of men dragging a boat across the ice. 20 years later, the ship was discovered with 35 men in it. Among them was Captain Franklin. 30 more were found in a tent discovered by the Indians. One especially significant discovery was an officer whose skeleton was found miles from the ship. He was dressed in his military dress uniform, fine blue fancy shirt and pants with silver and gold trim and a silk scarf. In his beautiful uniform, unprepared for the cold, he had frozen to death. Strange how men could start on a journey unprepared or dressed more for an afternoon tea than for an open ocean. Stranger still, how we do the same thing, heading out on life, totally unprepared to get where we want to go. One of my favorite professors one time said this: I have never met a Christian who sat down and planned to live a mediocre or average life. But many Christians do it by default. Don't be one of those Christians. Don't be one of those people who fail to plan. You have been given a gift of life, an opportunity, and you don't want to miss the opportunity to plan out your life well.